Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bologna Show, presented by the Chicago Sports Bums. I am Bologna, also known as Peter. You guys know me from the Bumcast, the Bourbon Bums, Tequila Bums, and everything else on the Chicago Sports Bums channel. But this is something different. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I want to give credit, shout out to my wife, Julie. I know she's watching upstairs, but she been pushing me to do this for a while. It's basically my brainchild of everything we don't get to talk about on the Bumcast. We've been doing 256 Bumcast episodes now, and they've been predominantly more Chicago sports centric, although we do have a good amount of nonsense. But this is somewhere where I can talk about movies, pop culture, music. Today's episode is going to be very music heavy, especially when we get to my guest, Robbie Fox from Barstool Sports. But yeah, I've been wanting to do this. I've been wanting an avenue other than the Bumcast to be able to do some of the stuff. We were able to do some of that on the Bums Happy Hour with the rest of the bums, you know, kind of drinking and having some more like chill topics. But that being said, I wanted to do this live, especially for the first one, because I wanted to get into the comment section and kind of bounce some things off of you guys. First of all, you guys are fighting to see who's first. I think Mailman Jack beat you, HBIC, but appreciate you guys fighting for that first place spot. Praz is in the comments. Bologna intensifying. That's right. Pop Punk. Where's the Dram Daddy's invite? I'm glad you're on here, John, because I am going to have to pick your brain on a bunch of different things. So your invite will be coming probably sooner rather than later. So look out for that, but I know you're good for it. SBF saying, hey, thank you guys. But yeah, first and foremost, like I mentioned, thank you to Julie. She was the one, you know, with the kids while I'm doing now 2 shows a week. Thank you to the Bums, super supportive. When I told them my idea, they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And I want to do a special thank you to my guy, Mike Hollins. That intro music that you heard, that is his band Mayfield. The song is called Picture Perfect. They're on TDR Records. That's his record label. All of that info is in the descriptions. I've been friends with him since high school. We played high school soccer together. And as soon as I decided I wanted to do this, I'm like, oh, I want to get like some good music for the intro and outro of that stuff. I asked him right away. He said yes. And I was excited about that. So check out TDR Records. They have a big cartel site just like we do. We're going to get to a little bums housekeeping right in the middle of this show. But before we get to Robbie Fox from Barstool Sports, I do have a couple nerd news stuff, but I want to start off shouting out the Southside Food Drive, the all sports scene, specifically Celeste Spaghetti, but everyone involved. You guys see everyone involved, CHGO from the 108, Sox Machine, Sox on 35th, Southside Behavior, the Penguins, Cheap Seats, that's Fitzmagic, Herb, us, the Bums. I'll pat myself on the back and shout out everyone from the Bums as well. But we've been doing this, we've been pushing this. We're about halfway through the month almost. We're at the 12th. We crossed the threshold. I think the goal was 20,000 by Veterans Day. We got to that point, but it's not over. We still got a half a month left. We're going to keep continuing to push to donate because the holidays are coming and there's tough times, especially in the city of Chicago for a lot of people, especially with the SNAP benefits being cut. So we've done a great job so far, but we can do a little bit better. And speaking of doing a little bit better, our friends at the Ramova, so shout out Road Dog, shout out Tyler and Emily, everyone there. They're getting in on the action. They partnered with Other Half Brewery, Mars Brewery, to support the Southside Food Drive by donating a portion of ticket sales from the Galactic and New Masters show and $1 from select select beers sold at the show. That's this Friday. If you guys are going to the Ramova this Friday, it's going to be a good show. I know tickets are still available. They're donating a good amount of money to the Southside Food Drive. And, we're friends with everyone at the Ramova. So it's always good to support them. I'm going to talk about the Ramova a little later on as well. But for now, let's get to some nerd news because originally I was just going to play the Robbie Fox interview and shout out HBIC. HBIC was talking about a couple of these things on the internet today and they were coming hot and heavy. So I want people in the comments, if you guys want to hop on, give me your thoughts on this. But the first one is that Avatar Fire and Ash has been listed at 3 hours and 15 minutes, the longest film in the trilogy. And I'll go ahead and say it right now. That is too goddamn not long. I know James Cameron is a genius when it comes to animation and filming and technology and all of the different things he's doing now with water and fire. That everybody's talking about this movie. Visually, we know it's going to be awesome. But 3 hours and 15 minutes, that is, at least in my age, is 2 piss breaks now. So I'm going to be missing a good part of that movie. That's just too damn long. I will be going to see this, not necessarily for the movie. I could care less about Avatar. I thought the first one was good. But Avengers Doomsday trailer will be debuting during Avatar, and that's where I'm there for. So I'm very excited about that. Not necessarily this, but 315 is crazy. HBIC is saying he thinks he's Scorsese. I mean, to tell you the truth, Scorsese movies are getting too damn long now. I think as the longer these guys go, and I get it, they're accomplished. They're award-winning actors. They think they could do no wrong. Somebody's got to get in their studio. They got too many yes men. Somebody's got to tell them, hey, maybe cut 35% of this movie. I bet you this movie will be good if it was 2 hours long and not 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's crazy. John's in the comments. Does James Cameron know that we're parents now? Like, it's 30 like we get 30 minutes a night. We might have to wait and break this up into, what would that be? 12 part. And we're going to break it up into 12 parts, and we'll watch the movie that way. But it's crazy. I will bring a piss bucket. It's just crazy. It's just too long. The trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie dropped today. I know the first one made a boatload of money. 2 things from it. Rosalina is now in the film, voiced by Brie Larson, and Benny Safdie is Bowser Jr. People, at least in the subreddits and on Twitter, were going crazy for this. I'm excited about it. I know the kids are probably more excited about it. Everyone's returning. Jack Black stole the show in the first one, both with the Peaches song and his performance with it. I'm sure it'll be the Jack Black show again. But people were saying, like, is this movie going to tank now that Brie Larson is on it? And we've seen what she's done with some of the MCU movies. I think she gets a bad rap, man. I think she gets a bad rap. Although there is a growing population that doesn't like Chris Pratt as well. I don't think it's going to affect this movie. This is going to make $1 billion regardless. But I thought it was interesting that they went with Brie Larson and Benny Safdie, the Uncut Gems guy, Uncut Jams. So that was good. Last little nerd news, and that's that the Lucas Museum officially opened September 22nd in California, not Chicago. The cost was $1 billion to build. The entire campus is 11 acres and has 700 trees, which I don't know if they're bragging about the 700 trees, but 700 trees in 11 acres seems like not enough, right? But I guess that's a good thing. It has a life-size Naboo starfighter, which that I'm into. A vintage comics, including DC and Marvel. I heard that there's some like crazy vintage comics in that. There was a little leak on that. 2 theaters, 33 galleries. It looks super futuristic. I think this looks better than the Obama library, and I'm an Obama guy. Sorry to tell some people. That thing looks weird, but this thing looks cool. The thing that stood out to me, it wasn't necessarily the starfighter. It's the wheel bike. The wheel bike is awesome. I've always been a General Grievous guy. I hope to go there. It looks sweet. I know Jason, he was in the comments saying, thank you, friends on the park, like it's as if Chicago like dodged a bullet. I think this would have been cool on the lakefront. Especially now that they're losing Soldier Field, you need something at the lakefront. But, to each their own. Who's saying Kit Fisto is greater than Grievous? That's fighting words. I love Kit Fisto. All right, maybe I'm going to have him. Albert, you're going to have to come on and defend your takes. All right, that is all of the nerd news I have. I will say this: I'm 10 minutes in, and I knew me talking to the screen without my cohorts, my bums, was going to be a little tricky. I've done a couple of things for like the 108 tournament and like some bourbon bum videos on my own where I'm just speaking into the void. But it does help that I have the comments along. This is an ever-changing thing. I'm going to have some shows that are going to be very guest heavy, like today. Other shows are kind of like, I've always said I wanted the Chicago sports bums to be a little bit like Sports Jackass. So I think maybe some of the stunts that we usually do live or different things like that will be more into this show. But I got to get my bums to agree on that. So it's going to be a little bit of that. Some of them will be, once like the MCU starts going again, we're going to be MCU heavy. But it's an ever-changing thing. So thank you guys for coming along for the ride. I've got an interview with Robbie Fox that I'm about to fire up. I broke it up into 2 parts. It's 35 minutes. They're about 17 minutes each. In between there, we'll talk a little bit about some bums housekeeping. But for now, enjoy my interview with Barstool Sports' Robbie Fox. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my first ever guest to the Bologna Show. He is a dozen trivia champion. He's the leader of the Basement Boys, along with my good friend, the Clem Report. He's an OG grapple fuck, bassist for Pup Punk, who have a show November 21st at Reggie's Rock Club. But more importantly, I guess to me, the first ever guest on the Bologna Show, it's Robbie Fox of Barstool. Bob, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be the first guest. You know, I was the first guest on Lights Camera Barstool as well back in the day. So I'm very, I take pride in being a good first guest.
That's that's high praise, at least to me. I listened to that show as well. Now, I know they changed it. It's a different iteration now. But I'm a big movie guy. But I did want to have you on first and foremost because, one, I want to thank you. You and Clem, what you guys do with My Mom's Basement is a big reason why I wanted to do the Bologna Show. I've done 255 episodes of a sports podcast, and a lot of the times I want to talk MCU. I want to talk music, Oasis, different things that you guys talk about and you do on your show, wrestling. So thank you so much, but also thank you for giving me hours and hours of content with My Mom's Basement.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for listening. As soon as you asked, of course, I recognize your name and your Twitter, of course, because you've tweeted us over the years, and we very much appreciate the people that have stuck with us and our crazy, very stupid theories at times, you know, things that go right over our head that the comments got to be like, you idiots don't even realize what you're talking about, the hashtags, all of it. So yeah, of course, thank you for listening. It's our favorite thing to do.
Yeah, so you've carved yourself a niche at Barstool Sports where when you first got to Barstool, I guess people forget you were the foreplay intern doing golf content in the winter in New York City. But slowly but surely, you carved a niche, like I mentioned, with the UFC and Dana White and wrestling. And I know you're good friends with a lot of the professional wrestlers. How was it that you basically set your mind to it and decided, hey, this is what I like, this is what I want to do, and this is hopefully what Barstool is going to let me do?
Yeah, I feel like I set my mind to that way before I even got hired or like became the golf intern with Riggs. I was literally applying. I've said it before, like since I was 13 years old. I was emailing Dave, Big Cat, KFC, K Marco, sample blogs, sample t-shirts, sample podcasts, everything I could do that I thought could get my foot in the door with the ultimate goal of talking about wrestling and movies and Star Wars and MMA in particular at Barstool. MMA I viewed as the best foot in the door because nobody was talking about that at Barstool, especially at the time. It was like we had Clem for Star Wars at the time. We had Nate for wrestling at the time. We had Nate for a lot of music stuff that I like at the time. So there were like people kind of covering a lot of my interests. So I would email them mostly about MMA and just be like, I'll do anything. I'll do MMA this, MMA that. So when I got hired as the golf intern with the Riggs, I was kind of just like persistently annoying and like poking at him and K Marco and being like, what if I just wrote one MMA blog a week? So there was some kind of UFC presence on the site. I think we could build a good relationship with the UFC that way. And then it became like, what if it was one a day? Do you think? And I remember it was so funny. at the time, I think Dave and maybe K Marco are both like, do you think there's enough going on in the MMA world to have a blog a day? And like now I feel like MMA fans are like, there's literally never a dull day in the sport. It's like insane. And one a day became, 30 a month became double that. And then slowly but surely, I think Dave took note. I got hired in October of 2016. And then by the Masters in 2017, that's when he told me like, hey, I'm going to take you off foreplay and just like, you should just do content, which was of course like dream come true stuff.
That's awesome. And what's so funny is I remember I mentioned I'm an OG Stoolie. I remember Uncle Chaps getting hired and Dave, for some reason, just thinking he was an MMA guy.
Yes, which is so fun. We laugh about that all the time because he asked him to write a blog on, I think it was McGregor Diaz 2. And he wrote a very like basic blog. It wasn't bad, but it was like, I think maybe abundantly clear that he wasn't like a diehard MMA fan. But the funny thing is, he kind of is. Like, it all goes full circle. Chaps knows about like early 2000s Pride. He just doesn't know about, I guess, or didn't know about at the time, the current UFC. But like he like knows more about actual martial arts than anyone. It's funny. Like I could see how Dave could think that. And I could see how he's crazy. He was crazy wrong about it at the time, but in a weird roundabout way, he was kind of right about it.
Worked.
It is weird and funny, but yeah, that's like a great classic, like Chaps, the original MMA guy.
And then as soon as you started doing the MMA thing, and I feel like it was pretty quickly, and correct me if I'm wrong, whether it was the McGregor stuff first or just the interviews with Dana White, it caught on like gangbusters to where you became not only the MMA guy for Barstool, but you are one of the preeminent MMA guys in general. Like there's the OG Ariel Helwani. He's been doing it forever. And I mean, obviously I put him, but you're like right there because like you got the access that a lot of other people didn't. So talk to me about like, building that relationship with Dana White to the point where you're in his war room and you got the fights in the background and it's like, wow, this guy's got, it felt like unlimited access.
The Dana thing is kind of funny. Dana was the first ever guest on My Mom's Basement. And it wasn't the first time that I had interviewed him. I got to interview him with Pardon My Take before the first time UFC came to, or not the first time UFC came to MSG, the second time, which was GSP versus Michael Bisping main event, Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Young Jacek co-main event. It was also, or maybe that wasn't even the co-main because it had Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw on it as well. It was an amazing card. But Pardon My Take was kind of like, all right, you're the MMA guy. We'll bring you along to do the Dana White interview so you could ask some legitimate UFC questions. Like, we're going to ask really stupid stuff, and you could jump in and ask like 2 or 3 questions. So that was the first time I got to meet Dana. It was crazy. We got to go to like this amazing hotel in the city. I don't even know where it was at this point, but it was so cool. I remember someone calling the hotel, or the hotel calling Dana, I think, and being like, what temperature does he want his water at when he arrives? And I was like, that's power right there. When they want to know what temperature the water should be at when he arrives. I was like, that's crazy. But I met his like right-hand woman, Lene, who controls everything Dana White in his world. And we kept in touch. So when I launched My Mom's Basement, this is maybe an exclusive. I don't know if I've said this before.
Okay.
The first guest was supposed to be Motley Crue to talk about The Dirt, which is crazy. But at the time, our talent booker was like, she was talking to like Motley Crue's people and was like, I think this is going to happen. And it was very understood. Like, this is the kid's like first podcast, right? And they were like, yeah, but I'd written Motley Crue blogs or whatever. They drop out at the last minute. And then it was like, shit, I'm going to do the podcast on this date. I need like a last minute guest. I wanted it to be a big one to kick it off. So I was like, fuck it. Let me email Lene and see if maybe this could work. And I emailed her and she was like, absolutely, let's set it up. So it was a phone call even. It was like kind of like pre-Zoom. So we just had him call into like the radio room. They patched him into a pod room. And in that interview, we kind of got into a little back and forth, like kind of an argument. I was a little combative. And it was about McGregor headlining a pay-per-view if he wasn't a champ. I was arguing like people are watching for McGregor no matter what. Yeah. I promise you, he doesn't have to have a title to put him in a headliner. And Dana was like, that's ridiculous. He would have to be the co-main if he's not in a title. And I'm kind of like, I've reminded Dana, I'm like, who was right on that one? Come on. It was this guy.
A little bit of bragging rights.
Yeah, but I think he did like kind of appreciate that I went back at him. And in that interview, I said, your office seems awesome. I would love to get a tour of it someday. He was like, anytime, I'd love to show it off, like bring the cameras. So I was like, I'm going to take him up on that. And we did the video together. That was like the tour of Dana White's office. And I felt like that was very much like kind of the start of our good relationship, because I spent an hour with him that day. We talked a lot. I think he could tell I was pretty like normal, especially off camera. At that point, I was a crazed McGregor fan on camera, but I think he was like, oh, you actually like love MMA. You like talking about this stuff. And that video did really well. It's still like one of my best videos, I think, on YouTube and stuff. And it's kind of just evergreen. You could watch that and be like, oh, cool office. I saw it on MMA Reddit this week.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, that's funny. They just looked like one part of it. So that was kind of like the start. And then it grew from there. And still, like Dana, you know, obviously with all the wedding stuff, like he treats me amazing, which is awesome.
That's a crazy, not to do a crazy aside, but you talked about the possibility of interviewing Motley Crue. I just recently, I mean, we're going to talk pop punk in a second here. I'm a huge Andrew McMahon fan, from Something Corporate to Jack's Mannequin. And for some reason, and I don't know, it was just something I missed. I didn't know that Tommy Lee played drums.
Tommy played,
on the Jack's Mannequin until like this weekend. I watched a video about it. I'm like, how did I not know that? But I was like,
and now when you listen, it's like, oh, it's clear because these drums are awesome. Like, amazing drum parts all over that. But yeah, that's crazy. And I eventually did get to interview Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx, both in My Mom's Basement. So it's like, I didn't get to do Motley Crue at the time when they were all still together promoting the dirt and everything, but I got my two favorite members of Motley Crue, if I'm being honest. So it is like a nice full circle. Yeah. I eventually got them.
It all works out at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's transition to a little bit of music, because you had what I think I called it in our topic show, the summer of Oasis. I was in my 20s when they broke up, and for the longest time I always held out hope that they were going to get back together. I think them being family members helps, because it's like, come on, they're eventually gonna, you know, mend the fences and stuff. But it was a long time coming, and I was literally, since the announcement, just counting down to the days to Soldier Field. I ended up getting interviewed by another one of my buddies' podcasts, because I cried at Soldier Field when they were back on stage and stuff like that. But you were there in Cardiff, July 4th. You've been a long time Oasis fan, like a lot of us. Talk to me about just your summer of Oasis, because you were at 4 shows, correct?
4 shows. It was crazy. It was overboard. I know. I kept saying to people, I mean, I've been saying it for as long as I've been a fan, which I go back to about 2016 when it goes to hardcore Oasis fandom. Growing up, my brother was an Oasis fan. He's 12 years older than me. So I had exposure to them through him, but it was kind of just, I knew the hits. I knew like Morning Glory. I knew, Do You Know What I Mean? Which is not a deep cut, but kind of one of their main hits.
Somewhere in the middle, yeah.
He just sent me that music video, and it's the coolest music video ever. Coming in on the helicopters, They got the orange amps. They look so amazing. And Knowles played a flying V. It's like crazy. But I knew just the hits: Wonderwall, Champagne Supernova, whatever. And then when the documentary hit, Supersonic in 2016, the A24 doc, I think like a lot of people my age, that was our first exposure to like the lore behind the music and how rock and roll this band got. In America, a lot of people view them as the Wonderwall band, and they don't realize they're like the prototypical rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, insane, you know, backstory. The brothers, the story about, you know, escaping their father and then them getting into a fight themselves, the way the documentary even ends, not really telling you what happened. It ends at Nebworth, which is their peak, but not, you know, you don't get to find out what happens. The way the master plan hits, it just like made my brain like explode in this, I have to find out everything about this band way. And I went down the most extreme deep dive you could possibly go down. I was watching every live video, every interview I could find, every TikTok, reading every article at the time. Just every B-side I could find. It was extreme. And I told everyone at that point, if they ever get back together, and I did have hope because I saw Guns N' Roses get back together. So I was like, anything could happen. I said, I'll go overboard and I will be at the first show and I'll be at multiple shows on that tour. And when it got announced, I got lucky enough to be like 500 in the queue to get tickets for the first show, which was that was a miracle by the grace of God. Got me and Nate tickets. The first show was like the greatest concert experience I've ever had in my life. It was just the most special environment. The day leading up to the show in Cardiff, which is such a cool city. Everything was between like a river and a castle, which was the coolest aesthetic you could ask for too. Bucket hats everywhere, good vibes everywhere, people cheering, people with family, people with their kids, people with their parents. It was like, you could tell it was like going to be a generational tour. And I mean, they knocked all expectations out of the park the first night. Everyone could tell like, oh, this ain't a cash grab. This is for real. This is like what they advertised it as. It's the greatest comeback in rock and roll history. Every live video I watched, and then I knew I was going to go to the 2 dates in Jersey because it's basically down the street from where I live. But watching all the live videos leading up to it, I was like, I can't know in good faith that Oasis is a 2.5 hour flight away in Chicago without also being at that show. So I hit up a few guys in the Chicago office that I knew got into Oasis through the documentary, just like me, Hank and Chef Donnie. Found out they were going, met up with them at Soldier Field, got that experience, got the back-to-back days at MetLife in New Jersey with my older brother. So getting to experience Oasis, the brothers, with your brother, with my fiance as well, who when they got back together, she's like, I think this is like everything you've ever wanted since I've known you. I was like, it is. So everything about it, it couldn't have gone better, I would say, the summer of Oasis. And 4 shows in, I am done now. I'm not going to Australia. Sure. I'm not going to Argentina.
Argentina sounds like
tap out on 2025, but 2026.
Yeah, 2026 is who knows what I mean, there's a little bit of rumors where like the 2025 rumors all turned out to be very true. So it's like, I'm looking for that guy that leaked 2026 and I'm like, that all happened. I, like you, waited forever. I know
the rumors are that we're going to find out this month too. People are saying November was the month that we're finding out Live 26.
So I'm excited about it. I think what I tell people is I grew up a soccer fan, and the atmosphere it's a soccer crowd. It's like a soccer atmosphere. Everyone doing the Poznan, everything like that. We just don't get that in the States. And I've gone to many shows. I mean, me and my wife, even before I met my wife, that's what we do in our spare time. We like going to concerts. And I didn't think that it was going to live up to the hype, but I was living vicariously through you and a lot of other people that were in Cardiff. I watched the entire concert basically on a TikTok feed. And I'm like, all right, let's get ready. And the fact that it lived up to the hype, and like people were talking about the set list and the possibility of changing things around. And I'm like, they're not changing anything and they don't have to change anything. I thought it was like front to back, the way they started, and there's ebbs and flows, but it's just a constant. It was awesome. So I give them credit. Like you mentioned, like people weren't sure if it was a cash grab. It's like, no, they're back.
Yes. It was amazing.
All right, so that was part 1 of my Robbie Fox interview. Before we get to part 2, I'm gonna play a quick ad because StreamYard ain't free, the tailgates ain't free. We gotta do a little self-service. ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com is the home for all Chicago sports bums merch. We have Bears, Hawks, Sox, and Bums merch available. Anything you need to get ready for a big game or a Chicago Sports Bums event. Remember, all profits go directly back into our Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates to keep the beer and food free for everyone. So head over to ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com and pick up a couple Toot Tree shirts today. All right. One last thing I want to remind you guys, the Bears watch party, our final Bears watch party is week 13. That's Black Friday against the Eagles. Doors open at 1. Kickoff is at 2. And we got a $35 food and drink package for you guys. The menu was just announced last week. I got it right here. It's a little bit of Sloppy Joes that were a hit. Last time we had Sloppy Joes at the watch party, some Remova chili, French onion dip with chips, and house-made sausage and peppers. I plan on housing a record number of sausage and peppers. So if you guys want to check that out, it's free to get in. Free RSVP. You could come and watch the game. If you do want to eat and drink, $35 for 5 beer tickets and some really good food. So don't miss out. I'm really excited. By that time, the Bears should be on a pretty good winning streak, and we're going to take care of the Eagles as well. That'll be the litmus test. Everyone's saying, oh, the Bears haven't beaten anybody. The Bears haven't beaten anybody. Well, Black Friday, we beat the Eagles. Then what are people going to say? So make sure you RSVP. Link is in all of our descriptions, all over the place. Instagram, Twitter, all of our link trees and stuff like that. It's going to be an awesome time. All right, I'm going to bring it back to the Robbie Fox interview. Before I want to shout out my man, Gordo. Gordo, I got a drink right here. He says, congrats on a new show. Appreciate you, Gordo. I appreciate you as well. We got to get some Countryside Hooters soon, sooner rather than later. Yeah, HBIC is saying go buy your ticket package now for sure. SBF will be there. I'll believe it when I see it, buddy, but I hope you do. I hope to see you there. Black Friday. It should be a good time. All right, we got a second half of the Robbie Fox interview, and then at the back end of the show, we're going to talk Grammys. So here is part 2 of Robbie Fox. Guest to the Bologna Show. He is a dozen trivia. Oasis aside, you guys are in pop punk, which I kind of want to pick your brain on that because of all the things. I mean, I know you from the UFC and My Mom's Basement and everything else, but I feel like the pop punk thing, I don't know if, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it started off as a joke and then you guys realized, oh no, we could actually do this thing. But you went from like making a funny song to like headlining, or not headlining, but playing Ocean's Calling and all these big venues. And you guys are playing Chicago at Reggie's. Talk to me about like just the evolution of pop punk.
Yeah, so the original like genesis of the band was I was sitting across from Roan in the old office where we were all on top of each other. It was like, you know, I kind of long for those days where we were like on top of each other and everyone was like in each other's business at all times, because stuff like this would happen where I was listening to Blink 182 way too loud in my headphones to where it was like bleeding out and other people could hear it. And Roan was like, bro, you got to turn that down. Why is that guy singing like that? What is with the Tanoy? What is he doing with that voice? And I was like, come on, bro. It's Blink. It's Tom DeLonge. He's the fucking GOAT. Like, who are we talking about here? And he was like, we should do a song like that. He's like, it can't be too hard. You just whine a little bit. He's like, we should do like, he's like, you play an instrument, right? I said, oh, yeah. Like I played bass in high school and I kind of just picked it back up. And he's like, PFT plays guitar. At that point, Smitty is like, Smitty plays drums. He's like, let's make a music video. I said, you know, it'd be really funny. Let's make a one-off music video. And then we'll do like a documentary, VH1 behind the scenes, the breakup. And like, you know, I went down a bad path. I got hooked on heroin and Roan got into a murder case and like, you know, do the darkest, weirdest, whatever. So we did it. We did the music video back to school. We put it out and everyone was like, this is hysterical. When's the next song dropping? And we were like, all right, maybe we should do like another song or, you know, something else before we do the breakup. And we did the live performance at Dunkin' Donuts for the Dunkin' Awards or whatever.
Yeah.
And Dave thought it was so funny that he pretty much immediately told Gaz, like, let's book them a show in New York City. And the venue they picked was Irving Plaza, which is a legendary venue that, like, you know, the Misfits played and Foo Fighters and Green Day and the Strokes and every, you know, yes, every New York band came up through Irving Plaza. I went my first time seeing All Time Low. My favorite band was at Irving Plaza. It's like 1,200, 1,400 people you could fit in there. And we were like, we're not a real band. What do you want us to do? And Dave said, he's like, you got that song? And we're like, yeah, the one song that we hadn't even like really played with each other. We all recorded our parts separately in Hank's old apartment, the living room, like, and then my friend played drums on it because we couldn't figure out how to record drums. It was a complete shit show. So like, what do you want us to do? He's like, play that one song like 10 times. That's all you got to do. We're like, we can't do that. You can't keep a crowd entertained playing the one song 10 times. He's like, sure you can. It's a hit. We're like, it's not that big a hit. All right. So we wrote then My Real Girlfriend, I think in anticipation for that show, My Real Girlfriend, which now, look, I could show this off. I have it in the studio right now. Which now, boom, yeah, 1 million on
congratulations.
Spotify. Thank you.
Unreal.
It only took like 8 years, but still kind of sick.
You got there.
And we decided like leading up to that show, like, okay, we're like, we're obviously not going to write 10 more songs. We're not a real band. We can't write an album's worth of songs in a month. So we were like, I think we should just be a cover band. And that night we did like, I want to say a 15 song set. We did like 3 originals and then the rest covers. And then it evolved from there where we were like, oh my God, that was fun. I think we like kind of exceeded expectations. The first show was also on pay-per-view, which it did like
holy shit,
thousands of buys, which was very nerve-wracking. Right before we went on, they were like you got like, I want to say it was like 10,000 buys. And they were like, there's like 10,000 people watching on pay-per-view. We were like, don't tell us that. I thought I was going to throw up on stage. My brother was giving me advice. He's like, just don't even look at the crowd. He's like, just look at your amp the whole show. You could be that'll be your thing. You're the bass player that never turns around. I was like not knowing what was going to happen. And then it went off so great that we just kept booking shows. And we just played I have like a little document of all of the shows we've played, the venues and whatever, little notes from the shows. And we just played our 30th show together.
Wow.
In like 8 years, which is crazy. I think we've been a band for longer than the Beatles ever were, which I love to bring up.
Along the way, you added your brother. So Frankie was a drummer. You've added your brother. Your brother plays with you guys, if I'm correct. And then Caroline it feels like Caroline adds like a different element now to where, like you guys are a full-fledged band.
Caroline, totally. Nick Hamilton as well. So we started as just the 4 of us. It was me, Frankie, Roan, PFT. Then eventually we realized Nick Hamilton grew up in bands. He's like a tech wizard when it comes to, he sets up the graphics that play on screen behind us, the lighting, he sets up the shows. He plays keyboards and rhythm guitar. He's like our John Paul Jones. So he's the secret weapon. And then as soon as Caroline was in Barstool Idol and she was doing songs, I texted the band. I was like, if she wins Barstool Idol, we could start doing like Paramore and Kelly Clarkson and all those songs that obviously are out of Roan's register. But I was like, that could kind of add a new dynamic to Pup Punk. We had her like guest sing for Pup Punk, I want to say 2 days after she won Barstool Idol, like at the Gramercy Theater. We were like, fuck it, come up and do Love Story with us. We do Taylor Swift. Like people will go nuts. And as soon as she did that, I got a fly in here. Soon as she did that, she was like basically a member of the band right away. So we're basically a 6-piece that sort of becomes a 7-piece because Frankie would usually sing a song while he was drumming. And he hated doing both at the same time because it's tricky. It's like doing the,
pat your head,
rub your belly, pat your head. It's tough. And my brother came to our show in Chicago last year because he lives in Michigan. It was a short drive for him. And he was like, Frankie, if you want me to, we were doing Wagon Wheel. He's like, it's the easiest song in the world. If you want to step up and sing that, I can drum it for you. Because my brother's been drumming since he's 5. Yeah. He's like, was a pro drummer, an amazing drummer. And one song became 2, became 3, sometimes is 4. Frankie is the voice of an angel. The pipes this guy has, it's like, talk about a secret weapon we have in the band. It's outrageous. So now Frankie will usually have 2 to 3 songs in the middle of the set where he comes to the front of the stage. My brother drums, which is so cool, for all of us for Frankie to get to sing, for me to get to play with my brother. It's just so much fun. And the show is like, at this point, I said the first show was probably 15 songs. I think we're playing 25, 26 songs at this point. sometimes we don't even play an original. If we're playing a college where we're like, we know they're not going to know My Real Girlfriend, we're like, screw it. Let's play 26 covers tonight and have them screaming at the top of their lungs every single song. So that is, if you've never been to a Pup Punk show, the selling point I would give is you're going to hear a couple originals. If you like them, great. If you don't love the originals, we're playing, man, at least 20 songs that you absolutely know every single word to.
Yeah, and so here's the information. I'm going to put it up on screen. We could talk about the Reggie show. How do you guys go? Is it a team effort, like building the set list?
Yes, very much a team effort. I'll usually put together a first draft, and it's ever changing and evolving. Like every show is a slightly different set list than the last, and that's not like us trying to be like creative. We're not trying to be the Grateful Dead or anything. It's just like fun to change it up. So we like to throw in new songs. We just played we played 2 shows on this like little Under the Bleachers tour we're doing, where we did You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette,
okay,
which I love.
Yeah,
I thought that would be a great song to add to the set, and I think we sounded great playing it. If I'm being honest, nobody knew it in the crowd. It was shocking. It was like we would play this. So we're playing like Zombie by the Cranberries. Came out the same year. They scream Zombie like it's the greatest song of all time, which it's up there. Great song. You Ought to Know. They didn't know it. So like we'll probably drop You Ought to Know from the set and throw in something we think they'll go crazy for. Frankie's wanted to sing Creed for years. So last show, he's like, you know what, guys, this is the time. I want to sing Creed. We're going to be in Iowa. I know they love Creed in the Midwest.
Iowa,
we threw one last breath on the set list. They went nuts for it. Yeah. So like stuff like that. So it's changing every time. Usually I'll put together first draft. I'll send it to the band. They'll suggest, how about we take this off? How about we throw this on? Frankie will usually change up his little trio of songs to make it fresh for him. But yeah, ever changing, ever evolving. And usually we try to have like some kind of special guest or special moment. In Iowa, we had the marching band join us. I know we're going to have big guests from the Chicago office. At Reggie's, we're going to try to have big guests from the New York office for our show in December, which we're also going to try to make that a Christmas show. So we're going to learn a couple Christmas songs for that.
I like that.
So yeah, it's like fun to change it up. It's also nerve-wracking because it's very hard to get all of us in a room at the same time for a show, let alone a rehearsal. So we just had our first rehearsal of the entire tour, and it was, I think, 3 shows into the tour. So we were just figuring everything out on stage until then.
I love it. Just Leroy Jenkins it.
Yes.
All right, Bob, before we let you go, and this is something I'm not stealing, I'm borrowing from your interviews. You typically you do a little like rapid fire segment. So I got a little bit of rapid fire, and it's kind of all encompassing. There's some music, some Barstool stuff and stuff. Just some quick rapid fire questions. First one, favorite food other than the Italy sandwich?
Oh, Midway cheesesteak from the Jersey Shore. I'm a huge cheesesteak person. Love cheesesteaks, and I love ravioli. That's underrated about me. People don't know that about me. I'm a ravioli fiend. Lobster ravioli, regular ravioli, mushroom ravioli. Oh, fiend.
Love that. Concert bucket list. Now that Oasis is, you check that one out.
That's a great question, and I've been thinking about this because it was an easy Oasis answer for years. Paul McCartney was up there for me for years before that. I honestly think it has more to do with venue than artist for me, but I'd like to see my favorite band, All Time Low, at Red Rocks. I've never been to Red Rocks, and I feel like that's now my concert bucket list, to go to Red Rocks.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop the speed round and talk about Red Rocks for a second. We were supposed to go to see the 1975 at Red Rocks, and me and my wife planned that trip out, and it was right when COVID hit, and we haven't made it back. So I also Red Rocks is on that bucket list. I got to make it there.
Yeah.
All right. Sneaky funniest person at Barstool.
Ooh, sneaky funniest person at Barstool. Who makes me sneaky laugh the most? I really don't want to say Tommy Smokes. His ego doesn't need to be inflated any more than it already is. Who's sneaky funny? You're stumping me with this one, because I maybe I'm just an easy critic. I think everyone's funny. Marty cracks me up. Glenny still, even though Glenny's not at Barstool anymore, I think I just get a kick out of making fun of Glenny. I have a group chat with me, Glenny, and Tommy, where it's just me and Tommy making fun of Glenny 24/7, and we just make ourselves laugh. I'm gonna go sneaky funniest overall. I'm gonna go Marty, actually.
Marty is funny, although he's got a budding rivalry with the city of Chicago. So maybe I'm gonna have to
yeah. And Toronto. Toronto hates him too. He's like boxing himself in between all these cities.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him. That's my guy. Other than him, Shawn Michaels for sure. And then like John Cena and Kevin Owens. That's like kind of my personal Mount Rushmore. And God, Rey Mysterio's up there too for me. Those are my 5. I'm gonna have a 5-person Mount Rushmore.
That's fair. Favorite wrestling match of all time?
Main event of WrestleMania 30 for like the sentimental reason, especially of following Daniel Bryan at that point, through his whole WWE career. I can't claim to be a fan before he was in WWE. When he got signed in 2009, I went back and I watched all the Ring of Honor stuff, and that's what introduced me to like independent wrestling in general. Yeah. But watching him like win the big one at WrestleMania, I still like get chills talking about that.
Yeah. All right. Let's say something nice about Clem.
The easiest question you asked me all day. Clem's the best. He's like the most easy to talk to, always there for you. I mean, like, I'm the worst with my schedule. I'm always going back and forth. No matter what I text Clem, he's making it work for me with My Mom's Basement. He's always figuring out it, even if it's recording late after he gets home. He's just like, honestly, he's like the best friend a guy could ask for. He's going to be part of my wedding party because of that. He's a guy you could always count on. I think you could call him one of the sneaky funniest people at Barstool. Although, again, I feel like sneaky funny implies that people don't know they're funny. Everyone friggin' cracks up at Clem. So he's one of my favorite people that I've ever met in life in general. He's just a beacon of joy. He walks into the office, he lights the place up.
All right, now say something mean about Clem.
Oh, he's the worst. His sports teams. Listen, he's a Mets fan. He's a Giants fan. Yeah, he's old. His eyesight's leaving him.
All right, we'll leave with this. You guys got the show November 21st in Reggie's. Give me your pop punk Mount Rushmore.
Oh, bands?
Yeah, bands.
Ooh, tough question. So obviously, I've got Green Day behind me right here. Green Day's on my list. Easy. Some people say they're not pop punk. They say they're alternative rock or they're straight punk. I think they blur the line. They're fine.
I think so.
He's a pop punk album. It's maybe the most influential pop punk album ever. Green Day, Blink-182. I'm throwing All Time Low on my list because they're my favorite. And then to round out the pop punk, I almost don't want to put My Chem on there because I feel they're more emo than pop punk, even though that line is very blurry.
Those lines blur.
I'm going to throw very blurry. I'm going to throw Paramore on mine. I love Paramore. Every single album they've ever put out. At this point, they're probably not as pop punk as they used to be either. But those early records, I mean, All We Know Is Falling, Riot, Brand New Eyes. I'm going to go with those 4. I feel good about that.
Haley Williams can do no wrong in my eyes. So you nailed that.
Yes, the maybe the best pop punk voice out there. Her and Alex Gaskarth are my 2 favorite.
Yeah. Bob, thank you so much. First guest ever on the Bologna Show. This is so much fun. I could pick your brain for another 2-3 hours, but I won't because your time is valuable and the Barstool internet is a little choppy. So we're going to blame All Business Pete for that. But thank you so much, Bob. Thank you so much for being my first guest.
Of course. Thank you for dealing with the choppy internet. I apologize for that. Maybe I could be the first recurring guest, and I'll do it from my apartment next time. We'll be all smooth.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
That was Robbie Fox from My Mom's Basement and Barstool Sports. I want to thank once again Robbie for coming on. You could catch him November 21st at Reggie's for Pop Punk. I'm going to be there. Julie's going to be there. I think They announced it earlier today. They only got about 26 tickets left, so that should be a sellout by the time the 21st rolls around. So I got a ticket link in the description to this show, along with ticket links for our stuff and everyone else. But make sure you check out Pup Punk at Reggie's. I mean, if you're here through White Sox Twitter, you guys know all about Reggie's. It's a great spot, good place to watch a show, have some drinks, even have some food there. Food at Reggie's is sneaky underrated. So big fan. Thanks again to Robbie Fox. Last thing before we go, I said I was going to talk Grammy nominations, and this is exactly the type of thing that we typically wouldn't get to on the Bumcast. So these came out last week, and we didn't get to talk about it then. So I'll pull them up here, and we're just going to go through. I'm not going to break down all of them because a lot of the times, people aren't familiar with all of the Grammy categories, but at least the ones that I care about and the ones that are, the most popular. So we're going to start off with Best New Artist. And if you guys are in the comments, I know like Aaron's in the comments, John Dram Daddy's in the comments. You guys are very familiar with music and stuff. So give me your guys' thoughts on all of these categories. But for Best New Artist, you got Olivia Dean, Cat's Eye, The Marias, Addison Rae, Somber, Leon Thomas, Alex Warren, and Lola Young. And I think this is going to be, it's always a really contested category. And a lot of people, this is a peek into the future. A lot of very accomplished artists have won this award. A lot of very accomplished artists have lost this award as well. Aaron right away saying Lola Young. And I know she's going through some health issues, but she came out gangbusters this year. She had a couple of live performances that were awesome. I think Leon Thomas is one of the people that can be like a committee darling. So I wouldn't put that. I think in my eyes, I really like Somber. I know people have talked about him being an industry plant, and I think he's only like 20 years old. And he shouldn't be singing about things, or he's singing about things that I wasn't doing at 20 years old, at least at my age. But I like Somber a lot. I don't think he's going to win. I think Olivia Dean and Leon Thomas are two people that like fit the Academy's mold of like, these are the people we want winning. I think the Marias are a good story, but I don't see them winning. Addison Rae is probably just happy to be there. I don't know if she should have even got nominated, but I'm going to get some Addison Rae stands. And then Cat's Eye, the same thing, the K-pop band. I think it is Leon Thomas or Olivia Dean's to win, but my vote is for Somber. Best Pop Solo Performance, Daisies by Justin Bieber, Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter, Disease by Lady Gaga, The Subway by Chappell Roan, and Messy by Lola Young. And I only brought up this category only because I thought the last few years have been really tough categories for Best Pop Solo Performance. I mean, it's like the toughest category. I thought this was a weak year for the Best Pop Solo Performance. I think The Subway is a really good Chappell Roan song. I don't think it's nowhere near her best song. Same thing with Gaga and Daisies, and I could probably tell you about 5 or 6 songs better than Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter, but they're all there. I think Lola Young is outgunned in this category. I think it's going to go to Chappell. I think of the 5, that is the best song and best performance of that song. Justin Bieber, I don't know why he's in there. I honestly don't. Bieber hasn't been good for the better part of a decade. But I mean, I'm sure he'll take the nomination. Yeah, Dram Baby saying Chappell. I agree. All right, so these are record of the year and song of the year. A lot of people are like, hey, what's the difference between the two? Record of the year is more for the performance and producers and everything, while song of the year is more for the songwriters. But a lot of the time they're interchangeable and things like that. So for record of the year, I really do think it's going to be between, and some people are going to say maybe not, but DTMF, Debí Tirar Más Fotos by Bad Bunny, and Luther are my 2 favorite songs. I think the Academy would Kendrick has always won a ton of awards, SZA as well. It's produced by Jack Antonoff. It just seems like that's the type of song that the Academy or the committee would like. I keep saying the Academy like as if this is the Oscars. I know it's the Grammys, but it's the same thing. I think it's between Bad Bunny and Kendrick and SZA. I think it's going to be Luther for Record of the Year. Now, Song of the Year is different because I said that's more for the songwriting, and that's where I think both Bad Bunny and the message he sends with DTMF, and then Wildflower by Billie Eilish. I don't think Wildflower is anywhere near Billie Eilish's best song at all, but that is a very well-written song. So I could see Billie Eilish winning that, but I'm going for Bad Bunny on that. Bad Bunny's got to get one of them. I think John's in the comments saying the same thing. Albert possibly. But yeah, you got Joey. I'm doing this way early. I was just excited about the nominations. The show's not till February 1st, I believe. Actually, I got it up here. Yeah, February 1st. So you got some time to catch up. Maybe make a playlist and go from there. Album of the Year. It's Bad Bunny, Justin Bieber, Sabrina Carpenter, Clips. Shout out Clips for making it. Clips, Pusha T, and Malice are making it to the Album of the Year. I love that for them. GNX by Kendrick Lamar, Mayhem by Lady Gaga, Mutt by Leon Thomas, and Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. Album of the Year, I think this is going to be between GNX, again, because of the production and because of him. I mean, he's just the best all-around artist in the last, 10 years, I would say. Not just rap artist, but I just think just artist. But that Bad Bunny album was so goddamn good. He's got the Super Bowl coming up. I think it is a huge moment for him. Jordan is in the comments saying Mutt is my favorite of these. Again, he can be Jose saying give me Clips. Dude, shout out Clips, man. I love that they're in this category. I love that they made it there. I'm gonna go Kendrick. I think Kendrick's gonna win. I hope Bad Bunny wins. I think if Bad Bunny wins, it'd be a great moment for Latino artists. But I mean, it's tough to beat Kendrick. These are the ones I wanted to talk about. Best rock song, best rock album. I'm going to talk alternative in a second. But these, I mean, this is right up my wheelhouse. This is really what I wanted to talk. I feel like this 9 Inch Nails song came out yesterday. I don't know how this got nominated. Whereas in obviously Taylor is going to be nominated for next year with all the pop categories and stuff like that. I feel like that Tron movie came out 2 days ago, and 9 Inch Nails got nominated for the song. So I don't know. I think obviously, anything 9 Inch Nail does is warranted for some consideration, but I feel like Sleep Token is having a moment where it's Sleep Token is the biggest band. Now we're talking about people don't know this stuff, and maybe you do. They're the biggest band nobody's ever heard of. They're selling out arenas everywhere. Nobody knows who they are. They're having a huge moment. Hayley Williams, like I mentioned, darling. I think this has been a culmination of her career, not only just all of the stuff with Paramore, but her album that just came out has been awesome. So Glum was nominated there. Youngblood is another guy that for the longest time, I feel like people wanted to hate Youngblood. People wanted to hate that he's obviously, I mean, he said it in the name, but younger. And then he's done a couple things, especially with Ozzy Osbourne, where Ozzy basically entitled him the next, rock star. But he's done a bunch of covers. He's done a bunch of award seasons where he's won people over, and he's won me over. I didn't really care for Youngblood all that much, but I think he is a real deal. That being said, I don't think he's going to win. I think best rock song is going to go to Never Enough by Turnstile. Turnstile is just like Sleep Token's having a moment. Turnstile, from the time they opened for Blink, which was a couple years ago, until now, where the album released in the summer, and my TikTok algorithm is nothing but Turnstile concerts and Hot Mulligan concerts, which I'll probably talk about in a later Bologna show. But Turnstile seems like they're the biggest thing in hardcore or punk music, or so I think Turnstile sweeps this, both rock album and rock song. I know I got a lot of Deftones fans. I know Steph and Jose, they're all I think that The one thing I will say about the rock album category, it's good to see Linkin Park there. People were upset about the whole, not having Chester. I think they did a good job on how they announced and released everything like that. So I'm cool. It's cool to see Linkin Park back and doing their thing. The fact that Haim is in this category is crazy. So if Turnstile doesn't win, I could see Deftones winning, but I'm going Turnstile sweep here. And also with alternative music performance. Seeing Stars was my favorite song off that Turnstile album. And there's a bunch of people. Bon Iver, The Cure, Turnstile, Wet Leg, and Hayley Williams. That's a Royal Rumble, a cornucopia of just randomness. But of those 5, I think Turnstile, again, my opinion, I could be way off. They're the ones having the moment. And then alternative music album, this is where I think Hayley Williams gets her roses, basically. Not only for Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party, which is a fantastic album, but it's just almost like I feel like she's going to have this, like, the culmination of her career, because she's been so good with Paramore, like I just mentioned with Robbie. But Paramore were kind of pigeonholed as this pop punk band or this alternative band, where by the end of the Paramore stuff, they were doing really, really good. Like Ain't It Fun was a pop song that probably should have been nominated. They were really good. And they were nominated. They've won a couple of like the niche Grammys, but her winning Best Alternative Music Album feels like a culmination of her career so far. So I think she deserves it. And I think that is the Best Alternative Album of the year so far. 2 more. And these are really interesting because it's Best Rock Performance and Best Metal Performance. The rock performance, again, I'm going to say Turnstile, although there's a couple people like Hayley Williams that could be, providing spoilers. The metal performance is interesting because I talked about Sleep Token having a moment. I feel like Ghost, again, like if you're on White Sox Twitter, everyone knows, there's a lot of Ghost fans on White Sox Twitter, but they are also part of this, movement where like there's not a lot of rock bands nowadays selling out arenas or selling out basketball and NHL stadium and stuff like that. And Turnstile, Sleep Token, and Ghost are all over the place. I mean, having hell of a tours. Of these, I do like Lacrima. Turnstile Birds is a song that like they've talked about it. It sounds like Hella Good by No Doubt. If you listen to Turnstile's Birds and then you listen to Hella Good, it's got like the same rhythm to it, which isn't a bad thing because Ghost's Lacrima sounds like a Journey song. But I like the Journey song more than I like the No Doubt song. So Best Metal Performance, I'm going Ghost. So those were my my breakdown of the Grammys. Jordan is saying Hayley wins album. I agree. Aaron saying somebody miscategorized Haim. Yeah, they're bad too. Like they are not the same band that they were like 10 years ago. Their live performances have been brutal. I don't know why they're there, but they are, again, like a couple other people, industry darlings. But yeah, so we're right up at the hour. We made it right in an hour, just as planned. This was the Bologna Show. I feel like the adrenaline got to me. I'll be honest with you. I was speaking so fast to start that show. It felt like it took me a time to get into a rhythm. I think they're going to get better. I think that we're going to have some fun here. It's going to be more laid back. I think because it was my first show and I had a couple of things, I had, pulling some strings and doing some things, I got a little ahead of myself. But I appreciate everyone in the comments, joining me along for the ride. This is probably the last show I am just speaking into the void. I will have some of these type of shows, but they are going to be guest heavy. I'm going to bring the bums along for the ride if they're willing. There are going to be some bum episodes. There are going to be some guest episodes. There are going to be some really special guest episodes that I'm not at liberty to say just yet, but I'm working on them. But I'll be back next Wednesday. I will say next Wednesday guest. I'm efforting right now. I can't say as well because we're doing a little scheduling thing. So like I said, if I get a bigger guest, I might pre-record that interview because they just can't be live at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. But a lot of the times when we're doing the stunts, we're doing just random stuff, just shooting the shit, doing some drink reviews and different things like that, we will be live. So I will be live most Wednesdays. Some stuff will be pre-recorded, some won't be. But I hope you join me for this ride. Once again, before we go, please remember to RSVP to the Romova Watch Party, Week 13 versus the Eagles. It's going to be a great time. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is the Southside Food Drive. We've been kicking ass with that. Shout out again, Celeste and the all sports scene, but everyone involved has been working this to the core. And we've got a, good half a month to just keep driving that number up. So let's keep doing that. I'll remind you about that next week, and we'll see you next week for the episode 2 of the Bologna Show. Thank you guys so much in the comments. Thank you once again to Robbie Fox. We'll see you next week. Well, how am I going to end this? You know what? Smell you later.
Goodbye,